Welcome to the True That Show, a show about lifepreneurship presented with wit, humor, and banter by Deborah Drummond and Caroline Blanchard. A lifepreneur is someone who's living life the way an entrepreneur runs their business. All in. Lifepreneurs are rock stars. Lifepreneurs are people who are brave, who risk, who live full on, who think out of the box, who win this thing called life. Lifepreneurs are around us every day. They are everyday heroes. Join Deborah and Caroline, these two stage-walking women who tell it like it is. You'll learn from the most incredible lifepreneurs who will inspire you to be the best version of you. Now here are your hosts.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the True That Show. I am so excited because I get to talk to my favorite person. Oh, right, that's you. Oh, it's Caroline's here today, so we're just going to go with that.
You're so bad at it. You're so bad at it. You're trying to be mean, and it doesn't work, Deb.
I know. You know why? Because I'm a nice person.
No, it's because no. It's, well, yes, you are a nice person, but it's mainly because you're not subtle enough when you're trying to a thought, and you do it in sneaky ways. So not like how
okay.
With me. So keep your leave me mine.
This is a good time to announce Caroline's new class. So Caroline's actually hosting a workshop on how to be mean to your friends without them knowing. And it's going to be $997 American, normally $14.95. And if you sign up today,
so that will bring me to ask you, Deb, what's stopping you from signing up to my class? No, in general, we have an amazing speaker today, and I was sure you would say we have my favorite person as a speaker today, and I think you wanted to say that, but it wasn't quick enough to come back with the right phrase, so you had to say me. But basically, we're talking today about an amazing woman that has such a life story, and that is, anyway, I'm not going to give away the interview because you will get a lot from it. But one of the big things she'll touch on and is really like, what's stopping you? And I will ask you, Deb, what is stopping you to go to the next challenge or the next level or...
Yeah. Well, you know what? Thanks, Caroline. And of course, I wanted to introduce Faith, and I will, because she is one of my all-time favorite people, and everybody knows that. So I will have a chance to do that in a minute. When you think about what's stopping you, I have to say, when people talk to me or think about me or think about you, even I'll just throw you a compliment here, catch it, write it down, stamp date it, is that people don't really see us as particular women that get stopped. But we have an inside relationship, right? And so and I know that we have the same stuff as everybody. And so what they're seeing right on this podcast, or they see in the interview, or when we walk across the stage, or when we do all of those external things, they don't see the years of all of the stuff that we've done, which is why I'm loving one of the directions that Faith is going right now, because she's taking care of so many things at once with being able to help people push past that. One of the things that I've done to help me get through what was stopping me was, I would say, two things. And I think I talk about it in the book, which you guys, Faith is going to be in. We just talked about it. We're so excited. But one of the things that I've always had is I've had a personal coach in my life pretty well from the time I'm 27. And so I gave permission. It's kind of like how you do it for me, but I don't give you permission. It's that kind of thing. I go and I give permission to a coach to say, to reflect back to me what's going on that I can't see. I think that's so important, because you can't work on what you can't see. And to deny the fact that you don't have issues is pretty interesting, right? Those people spin in a gerbil wheel, right? They're like, no, I'm fine. Marriage, same, divorce, like all that kind of stuff is the same. They're not going anywhere in their business, but they don't have anything wrong with them. And so I think you have to be open enough to be exploratory. And so I've always used a coach to do that. And then the other thing is really my inside circle, those people that you can trust, give them the permission to be able to tell you things. And then I'm not sure, you have to somehow have something deep inside. A lot of times it's pain, a lot of time you're not happy with you are, to push you through, to do the work, to get you to where you want to go. So I don't know if that answers your question. I think you have to be questful, not just thirsty, but you have to be questful. You have to have a hunger for that next place. And you have to believe that there's people living better lives. So is that a good enough essay to get into your course?
Well, I will have my team review that, but there's one thing that I want to make clear here. It's like about 5 years ago, you did give me the permission to tell you the truth. So that's where all this meanness is coming from. And I love what you're saying about, a lot of people are like, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. There's nothing wrong with me. I'd like to switch that a little and put it in my perspective. It's like most people are like, something's wrong with her and something's wrong with that and something's wrong with that. So they don't necessarily see it as nothing's wrong with them. It's everything around them. There's something wrong with it. So instead of looking on the inside into what's wrong with me, what's stopping me from going to the next level. And I love what
so Caroline,
yeah.
I know we're going to talk to Faith soon, but so I don't want to miss the opportunity to have you share with the world is where are you not doing the do? Where are you not putting the flashlight? What stops you from going to that next level in life?
Oh, okay. Well, we can do a full podcast on that another time. But I would say that, no, I like it because I'm growing up these days. Really, I'm growing up. And I remember when I met you, I said, you know what? When I grow up, I want to be like you. And I didn't realize what I was wishing for back then. No. There's one big thing in the last years that I know I've been growing up because I'm accepting more the fact that my life is 100% my responsibility, my choices and my decisions. So what's stopping me, I'm not going to share it here because it takes more than a minute to share it, but it's limiting beliefs that I'm putting myself. So at least I know I'm maturing on that because I'm not blaming it on other things, on external things anymore. I know it's me and I know I have to do the work. But let's get to our speaker because she's the one who will really help people do that work. And I will let you introduce her since she's your favorite person.
All right. Well, it is a pleasure. And I think the one thing that, you can hear from myself and Caroline, all joking aside, what's stopping me from going to the next level could just be our friendship with each other. But no, I think one of the things that people come to this podcast to listen from lifepreneurs and entrepreneurs is because no matter where you're at, no matter how much money you make, no matter what's going on in your love life, you can always learn more. You can always learn more. And even if you're happy where you're at, you can learn how to do where you're at better, easier, faster, less expensive, more love. So the one thing that I've adored about Faith, and I think if you talk to anyone in our industry, and again, we're so happy that she's coming into the book, 20 Powerful Women in Network Marketing Tell All, is that this woman is versed. This woman has had an inside story. If you want to talk about how people see her on the outside, she's a stage walking woman, right? She knows how to train. She probably, has shares in Zoom because she was around in the very beginning. And when people know her, they leave elated. But some of the stuff they don't know is the inside Faith. And the really interesting thing lately, when I've been talking to her, is the inside work that she's done and now taking it to a whole new level. Like the last conversation we had was mind-blowing, right? So she has the ability to be gifted in the area that she chooses to focus on. And the woman by nature is all about helping others. So I'm going to stop talking. And Faith, welcome to the True That Show.
Thank you so much, Deb. I'm super excited to be here. And Caroline, it's an honor. Absolutely.
So, you know what, I gotta, let's just kind of get right into it. I mean, I know a little bit about your life and so does Caroline. And the word that you have used over and over, and I'd love for you to share that with people because it's a word that's used and it could have what does that mean for people kind of thing. You love the word catalyst. You are a catalyst, but what does that mean to you? And why do you like to own that word?
Well, that actually, it's been almost 30 years ago that kind of came to me as, it was like, what are your 5 core values? And I realized that was one of my 5 core values, and it's just become a part of my personal mission statement. So to me, a catalyst, yes, it's a scientific word. It's now kind of a catchword. And for me, though, it's like helping move something a little faster than it would on its own. And so a lot of times people think like a catalyst is like a huge explosion and like, oh my goodness, like look what happened in an instant. And it's not necessarily that. It is often just a little step in the right direction. So my personal mission statement is, my hope is in every interaction that I have with someone that I move them a little faster to where they're supposed to go. I don't always know where that is, but I'm hoping there's a little piece of something I say or something I do that helps them move them there faster. So that's what catalyst means to me. And I kind of live there is what I've kind of come to own. And it gives me, I guess, my center. And that's the part I think everybody often finds a word or something that really resonates with them for life. And that's mine.
Yeah. I think it's, so I'm sure everybody noticed the difference between myself and Caroline's, ecstatic conversation when we introduce you, and it just goes whoosh, very calm, very steady, very congruent, right? And so we were having this conversation about holding space. And one of the things that Faith is really powerful at is being able to move people from one area in their life to another. She's got a great story of her own personhood, motherhood, selfhood on, and I know you're going to touch on that. When people talk about holding space, like Caroline said earlier, it could be, people like, oh, I'm holding my space. I'm standing here. Like I own this, I own this piece of ground that I'm standing on. From myself, from someone that teaches meditation, I know holding space is like being able to energetically hold the energy for other people to have, whether it's a cathartic or whether it's just a small movement of an experience, and being able to take the kind of garbage away so that they can have a sense of peace. And so when we listen to you, it's like, oh, you go from to no. So you feel very peaceful. And so you're holding space, and you've got some new tools in your toolbox. You're doing some pretty cool work. I'd love for you to share that, because, as soon as you said you're doing groups, I'm like, oh man, sign me up.
Well, and that is true. I guess that's a piece that I have learned through having, some of you know me, but I have 2 daughters, and my oldest daughter was born with multiple disabilities, ended up with a huge seizure disorder when she was 9. And I think holding space is basically being with someone, holding space with them, being with them, journeying with them. And having Heather has taught me to do that. We have so many times I've simply sat and held her hand. When was the last time you sat and held someone's hand? Not a word needing to be spoken, because they just needed to sit there and know you were with them. That, to me, is what true holding space is about, is simply journeying with someone else, being with them in whatever way they need you to be with. It's not like I don't have fun sometimes and I don't get crazy, but oftentimes when you're looking at healing and moving forward, you need someone just to say, I'm with you. What do you need in this moment? Do you need to talk? Do you need to think? Do you need to whatever, So when it comes to like what's stopping you, I am not a patient person in myself. However, I have learned a lot of patience, and so for me, the tools that I have been looking for are the ones that I've been developing. And I do have, I feel like a little toolbox, but all of them are to move people faster, the catalyst part of me, but it's also about being able to find things that maybe are hidden. And that's the piece of like with energy work, the holding space. Sometimes we need to simply be silent. People don't live with silence very well. And I had someone in college tell me, Faith, you can't be by yourself alone. You have to be busy. Busy is a 4-letter word. And it's not good. And our society, goes there and we're like, and we're fine. That's another 4-letter word that starts with F. And those things are not okay. And so being able to stop and have somebody say, okay, you need to focus. You need to stop. You need to think about this. You need to, resonate on what is this that brings up in you. And that's with my energy editing work. It's really about having the moment to have something come up that maybe you didn't even know was stopping you, but I basically make you hold space long enough to find that thing, you know? And the beautiful part about that, is doing it in a group. Other people are finding things out. You're learning about yourself. You're learning about other people. And that really, my tools are between the energy editing, facing addictions, realizing, and I'm not talking hardcore addictions, although they are. Busyness is a hardcore addiction in our society, procrastination, taking care of people. That's where, for me, I realized I had an addiction to taking care of everyone else. And I was spiraling out of control because I was trying to help everyone else. And it was addictive. And I had to face that. And for me, I have come to where I'm like, no, I am me. You are you. We can do together, but we don't have to do for each other in a weird way. And these tools are pieces that I just feel like are so important to help bring. Plus, I've been accused of doing this really, really well. People have said, you say exactly what I was thinking. How did you know that, Faith? And sometimes I'm like, been there, done that. Other times it's, I don't know, I feel like I have an intuition sometimes of just finding out where someone is at because I'm willing to sit with them wherever they are. I'm fine with that. That's a good place to be. But I'm also all about, like, how can we move beyond this place, especially if it's not where you want to be? Let's go forward. Let's get rid of some of the baggage that you have, eliminate it, get rid of it, move forward, and find who you really want to be.
There's so many things I would want to touch on this. Like, that was so powerful, what you just said there. First of all, I can identify to a few of them, like when you talk about addictions, it's funny because when I hear that, I'm thinking drugs, alcohol, this and that, but there's so many different forms of addictions. And, when you talk about being busy, for me, when you say sit in silence with someone, it creates anxiety because I'm like, what? Sit down and not talk? Woo! But it all makes sense. It is addictions of like, being busy to forget or whatever. But the point where I want to come now is, so I consider myself happy and I consider myself content, but I do know that I have this issue of always needing to be busy, which is okay because it's making me happy because I develop projects and I do this and I do that. But I know that there's an underlying something under all of that. And, I'll ask you, when do you know when it's actually an addiction that you need to stop? Because, like, if I look at someone like me, I probably have it, but I don't feel the need to solve it because I'm still in a happy moment. It's still producing positive results. You know what I mean?
And that's exactly it, Caroline. I mean, that's the part of where what an addiction is it's something that at some point we have started doing or being or using or whatever that has helped us come out of a low place, like where we've kind of dropped where we're in like complete survival mode or below that, and we've all had those moments. And something we do, something we, watching a show, reading a book, I don't care what it is. And it can be a good activity. The thing is that what happens is when we do that more than we need to, where it becomes an attachment to something that is really a false attachment, because it's not going to solve our issue. Really, it's with ourselves, right? And so, like, taking care of people, that is a great thing to do. The problem is that addictions then turn and bite you in the rear end in multiple ways, because what's happens is, you're taking care of everyone. Well, then all of a sudden I'm taking care of everyone 24/7. I'm running to my daughter's side. I'm panicking. I'm anxiety driven. She's picking up on that. I'm like, I can't do all this. And what ends up happening is it creates even more anxiety around the people that you're around. And then the addiction becomes a driver, but you lose yourself in it. You become invisible. So I'm not saying being busy is wrong. The question is, why are you busy? What are you trying to accomplish? If you're trying to make yourself feel better or prove to the world that you're amazing because you don't think you are inside. And it's like, it's really about being authentically you. And if you're authentically you and you're busy in the moment, we all have busy moments, but if you are being busy so you don't have to face you, so you don't have to face what's going on inside, then it's an addiction. Then it's an issue to look at, right? So when I'm busy too. But for me, I choose anymore, instead of having to take care of the world, I'm choosing where I want to take care of and who I want to take care of. So that's a little nuance, but that's the piece of it, So again, I watch Netflix, but if I sit and watch Netflix for three weeks straight, there might be a problem there. Like, it's like, how does it fit into your life? And so, and for me, I just realized getting free of my taking care of everyone has really freed me up to be more of me. And that's, I guess, my other little motto is helping people to be free to be more of them, whoever they are. That's what we should each be working on doing.
That's awesome. And it's funny when you talk, one of the things that flashed through my head, first of all, when you said journey, you know what came into my mind? It was like that song, Don't Stop Believing. I'm like, oh, that should be Faith's, like, because she helps people journey and keep believing. And I think, we're talking about busyness, but it could come up in so many different ways. It's like, I think, so when you guys were chatting, I don't know why I'm like channeling people today, but it was like, I could hear a YouTube from, I think it was Matthew McConaughey, and he talks about the 3 minutes before you go to sleep at night. And so, I think about, because, someone would say that we're busy or you're doing projects, but it's like, are you good with you? Like, we all have that 3 minutes before we put our head on the pillow, and we all have that. And if something's not right, even if you can't tap into it, even if you don't know what it is, but you're like, something's just not right, then that's when I think reaching out to someone like yourself, Faith, where you're like, I do love what I do, or I do love my family, or I do, but I'm like, there's just something that doesn't feel right. There's just something, or I think for me, you're going in this direction, and you're trying, and you're just not getting traction. You're just not getting to where you want to go. And it's starting to turn on you. You're like, we've all had that. We've all been in direct sales. You want to talk about caregiving for people, right? We got, big hearts in this industry. And sometimes you can come up against yourself a little bit. And that's where I think reaching out, well, you know what? That's where I have reached out to you in the past, when things haven't been moving the way I wanted or how I expected them, right? And we talked about expectations earlier. I'd love for you to talk about that, because there's sometimes reality and then there's expectations, and sometimes I have to put it on hold. And that's where, some of my conversations with you have been really brilliant around us in relationship to our parenting, because it's been not what we expected.
Well, and that's absolutely true, Deb. Absolutely. And that's where so often when you become a parent, you have these great dreams for your child. And so with me, when my first daughter was born, and very quickly it was determined that she had her disabilities. I always used to say I wanted a kid who was 5 years old and talking and potty trained. And my daughter is 21. She still doesn't talk fully at all. She has maybe 50 word approximations, very multimodal, interactive person. She has seizures, so she has to wear pull-ups because she has incontinence with her seizures. So she's quote unquote not potty trained, right? And she needs 24/7 caregiving. So the thing with her and having her, I would not change it. Was it hard? Absolutely. But what it taught me is, what are your expectations of the day? I watched her work so hard to simply walk, feed herself, do the things that we take for granted. And if we stop taking that for granted and realizing what amazing bodies we have and how much we can do, instead of going, oh, I wish my nose was different or my hair was a different color or whatever, like, seriously, be happy that your body moves and you can do what you want to do, And so, like I was saying right before this program, I was telling Caroline that my whole goal in having my two girls was that they would be contributing members of society. To me, that is an expectation every single person can meet. We all have contributions. So what is it that you bring? And Heather has the best high. Like, she's like, when she says hi, which is one of her few words, you feel like she's been looking for you for 2 weeks and she found you and she's so excited. And I've watched people, like, you know how people are walking and they're just like grumpy and their heads down, and she'll say hi and they like look up and hi, and they're looking up and they're smiling and their entire demeanor changed. Okay, that's her gift. So what is your contribution, you know? And that's where, for me, I've just learned to hold expectations and whatever very loosely, not to say, oh, you can just stay in wherever you are. Again, move forward, but you might not know exactly where the road is going to take you. The question is, are you learning? Are you growing? Are you contributing? Are you doing something in that moment to become a better version of who you are? Because that's what each one of us is called to do. And years ago, I was struggling actually with my parents. You know, I think we all struggle with our parents. And I was like, I wish they'd been like this or this or this. And why didn't they? Da, 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 da. And somebody said, you know what? Grace is the absence of expectation. And I was like, wow, you know, have grace with them. And it changed everything for me when I was able to say, you know what, I wish, but if they couldn't do it, I can go find that somewhere else. I can provide whatever. I can be a mom to me, or I had friends who were moms to me. I mean, we all have that so maybe that one person didn't give you what you wanted, but it's not like you can't go find that somewhere. And living in that grace, I guess that's another piece of holding space. It's really holding grace. It's like giving people the room to be who they need to be and not holding to expectation. And that comes back to ourselves, right? I mean, I am the worst I have the more expectations for me than for anyone else. And so sometimes we have to give ourselves grace also in that, yeah, this is where I am now. But again, I don't have to stay here. I can move forward. But this is where I am now, and give myself grace in that moment.
I love that. And you know what? One thing that made me realize when you spoke about Heather and when you became a mom and you faced all these challenges is that you did not have the luxury of having expectations because she had a lot of disabilities. You know, it's not like me who had a son and, you know, he was normal, healthy. So you start having all these expectations for your child. And hearing you talk makes me realize that these expectations as parents are not necessarily for our kids. It's for us to be a good parent. So by being a good parent, your child has to succeed and exceed society's expectations, you know. But all of that is really, I don't want to say wrong, but yes, I feel like it's wrong. Like as a parent, one of the biggest thing I would change if I could, with my 2 older kids would be reduce the expectations. And I think I did it out of love because I just wanted everything to be perfect for them. So, but really it wasn't, you know, it doesn't serve well. And a big part of all of that is also having huge expectations towards ourselves, which I think brings a lot of different issues. And a huge part of your work is actually to help people, I guess, to reduce these expectations towards ourselves and help us being happier, right?
Yeah, and that's the part of where I think it's really about becoming who you are and understanding who you are. And so, you know, working with like self-acceptance and like really understanding who you are. And that's the part of where becoming Kolbe certified, KOLBE, it's something I wanted to do for 21 years. I've been waiting to have a chance to do that because we know about what we can do, the cognitive assessments that there are, right? I mean, we've had them all the way through school, and for a job, you have to prove if you can type or not, or write something or whatever, you know, cognitive, we get cognitive. Another part of the brain that we all know is the affective part, you know, what you value, what's important to you. So the DISC, the Myers-Briggs, Strength Finders, we've all done assessments in that area. And those 2 parts of the brain are very important. But there's a third part of the brain that really has been lost. Plato and Socrates talked about it, but we really haven't focused on that. And that's the conative part. And so that's what the Kolbe assessment basically shows. So if you can do something and you want to do it, the conative part is how you will instinctively do it. And most of our lives, we've been told, in school, good grief, they told you how to write a paper, write this outline, do this, you guys remember the teachers telling you all this stuff, right?
Faith?
Way and learn to use that. You've been in the zone, right? All of us have experienced where we're in the zone, we're doing our thing, we lose track of time, it's because we can do it instinctively. We can do it, we want to do it, and we're doing it as we would do it. And that's a piece where I think so often we don't really have a chance. We haven't growing up, so many of us, understanding who we are, how we do things, and walk into that knowing that's our strength. So often it's like, no, you got to be good at everything. Well, no one is ever going to be good at everything, right? So knowing who we are, and I think especially as women, oftentimes we get lost in who we're helping, what else we're doing. We're handed roles, wife, mother, caregiver, chauffeur, cook, cleaner, my worst. Anyway, it's like, and so we end up doing all this stuff, but we don't know how we would do it if we could. We don't know how, and so like that was a huge window that opened up to me. There's 4 different numbers you get in the Kolbe, and one of them is implementation, which is working with tangible space and things. I'm on a 1 on a scale of 1 to 10, which means I can envision really well what it's supposed to look like. Please don't ask me to do it. So being a mom of a daughter, I used to say, I feel like I'm wiping counters, wiping butts, wiping faces, wiping. I would be exhausted at the end of the day, and all I'd done is caregiving. But see, for me, that was one piece of instinctively, I would not have done any of that. And so this is a piece of like me understanding myself, and I could give myself grace. My house was never the cleanest house ever, and it never will be until I hire a house cleaner, because that's not my gift, right? And understanding that. But on the other hand, you want me to envision something, I can envision it. So that's one little glimpse of where the Kolbe assessment helped me understand myself better, to where, and Caroline asked me this question about moving my daughter out. I had people give me guilt trips because I did. I finally moved my 21-year-old. Oh, she is in the best place. She's living with a roommate. She's got caregiving staff in and out. She's the most social critter in the whole wide world. So she's like all about people in, woohoo, more people. We're having a party. She's doing so good. But a lot of people are like, well, you're her mom. You are the best caregiver. And I'm like, no, I'm really not, because I'm tired of wiping. Like, that's not my gift. On the other hand, there are people who are so gifted at caregiving, and they're the ones that are working with her. In fact, one came out of the lighting industry. She was selling light fixtures. She got laid off because of COVID, right? Came to work here. She's found her calling. That is what I love finding for people, is finding out who they are, not based on a role, but how do they approach something? How do they instinctively do it? Because if we can all work kind of in our zones, doing what we're supposed to do, then we are refreshed, we are renewed, and we are huge contributions to society. I think I totally tangented on that, but anyway, there you go.
No, I just want to add one little thing to what you said. It's funny because you said, oh, but you're the mom and blah, blah, blah. But when someone hires a cleaning lady, we don't get grief for that. We're not like, what are you doing? It's your house and you're the mother. Why would you? We're like, good for you. You gave away one of your tasks. And I think that for me, what you did is pure strength and pure love, because unlike what we want to think, well, you're the mom, do it. You recognize that it's actually not your strength, and she would be so much better. And any kid at 21 wants to live with a roommate and not their mother. So you probably did her a huge favor. But honestly, like, congratulations, because even in this, hearing this helps me strengthen my new perspective so much better. And stop judging. Because even if I think that I'm the less judgmental person on earth, these little things that have been ingrained in me since I'm little, like never place your parent or your child, there's a part of my brain that does judge. Because I'm like, how can someone do that? Like, And you explained it so well, so well. So thank you. And, congratulations for this strength and this loving your daughter enough to go give her what she really needed and give yourself what you really needed. And now the world will be a better place because you can offer your services to help others better their life as well. So, Deb, I think you had something to say.
Oh, no, I just think that one of the things that I love about Faith is when she talked about how, as a mother of 2 children with learning challenges, the biggest sigh of relief that I got was when I sent my daughter to a different form of learning, and the woman sat my daughter down. Honestly, I can remember it like it was 10 minutes ago. Because the anguish, people don't realize as they're making judgment, the anguish that goes on inside, right? The anguish. When this woman sat my daughter down and gave her something to do, and she's like, so was that like 0 or 10? Kind of like what you just said. And it was tough for my daughter. And she said, I just want to let you know, there's 27 different ways to learn. And if you're not learning the way that I'm teaching, the problem's me, not you. I was like, I paid that woman thousands of dollars over the course of the next while, but I was like, oh my God, someone finally gets it. And I think that, Caroline, you are talking about it, and it's breaking culture. It's breaking dynamics. It's breaking our own judgment. And we're talking about this in a North American culture, which is, again, a culture where people think we have a lot of freedom, but what we're trapped is also from the rules that have been set by each other. Look, I experience it now. My son is not doing online learning of social studies. He's with a fashion designer learning how to make pants. And I catch myself sometimes like, oh yeah, I sat all day and did homeschooling with my kids because we're in COVID. And I'm like, they're like, so I'm like, he learned how to make pants. And I'm freaking thrilled, right? But I still catch this, like, I'm not a good parent as it comes through my throat, right? Which is why people doing your work so great, it's commendable. But that is a word I would have used to describe you, 5 years ago, 8 years ago when I met you. You have a big heart. And that's the beauty of being a big hearted woman, is massive amounts of empathy and massive amounts of intuitive understanding. I am trying to get a picture in my head, and I'm sure so's our listeners. So if I was to go to Faith, it looks like this. Is it talk therapy? Is it hour sessions? Is it weekends? Like, if I was to come to you, even with a not knowingness of what the issue is, I'm just not feeling right. That's and I love that, because so many times people don't feel right, and then they put something to it. Oh, it's got to be my marriage. It's got to be my work. It's got to be this. It's okay to not know what's itching, right? What's itching or not making you really smile when you're smiling. Isn't that so true for so many of us, particularly, I'm not talking about men because I'm not one. They walk in the office, maybe they smile and they don't want to be there. But how many times have we put on a smile and we're not smiling inside, right? So what does it look like to come and see you, Faith?
Well, and that's the part of where at my website, realtothecore.com, I believe in being real to the core. I have a variety of different offerings depending on kind of what you're looking for, but really for me, it's short and sweet. You can do the Kolbe assessment, and then in a half an hour, I can explain it to you. You can understand your instinctive way of doing it. We can even compare you to other people in your life if they're interested in it too, and we can meld that together. A piece with the energy work is absolutely those. Again, all of my protocols are short. So a half an hour will do a huge amount. And maybe it's, 3 different times every 3 weeks you meet with me. I can't explain it if you've never done energy work. I know Deb has done some. Can't explain what it is, but it's really about being able to find those pieces that aren't fitting and be able to move forward. And I believe in not big, long, drawn out pieces, because it's really like 3-minute increments. We're going to tackle that. We're going to see what it is, because our energy system does process things gradually. So it's not like it always happens instantaneously, but it helps to remove blocks. So you talked about limiting beliefs, Caroline. Love to do a 30-second piece with you. Get rid of a few, seriously. So that's kind of the energy piece with that. The addiction piece is more of, at this point, I'm doing more of a group, and the energy can be a group also, but the addiction, it's more of a group process, because again, I believe we need community with us. And so there it's a number of weeks, but I keep everything. I don't like to do more than 8 weeks. Sometimes 6 is enough, right? To be able to get some of those tools put together. We process in group, but you also process on your own. And then the part I look at is with all 3 of those is they all meld together. And that's the piece of where somebody said, well, how do you kind of get those? And I'm like, it totally makes sense. If you know instinctively who you are, you find out where your energies are blocked. And then if you have addiction issues you want to face and you're ready to step into those, all 3 of those, you could actually kind of do them all at the same time and you're going to be that much freer, right? But again, it's not like you're going to sit and talk to me and we're not going to go back to your childhood. I'm sorry. Your childhood will show up, but we don't need to go relive that. We just need to go from here, go forward. And a lot of times, again, something may have happened, but you don't know exactly what that is. It doesn't matter. We just are going to move forward, go from here. So that's kind of how I approach things. And again, like I say, you're welcome to contact me through the website, see what I have at the moment going, because it depends on where we're at in that process with the group. You can't really jump in the middle of the group, so you have to wait for the next one. But that's kind of how I work. And I do believe short conversations are the best because oftentimes we just need to go work on it ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm. And I want to touch on that a little because I've done quite a bit of therapy in my life. I've started quite a bit of therapy, never finished it because I never believed into those for me, it's like the first hour we talk, the second hour, I'm like, I'm just entertaining this person. And then I'm done. My mindset may be limiting beliefs, but that's me. But I like the fact that it's short. And I like the fact that, you really work to the core. But the one thing that I will ask you to touch on a little, because for having gone through it, going into group therapy when I was dealing with addictions, first of all, it was not a choice. It was just like you're going in that group, and I was petrified of a group setting because I'm a very reserved person. Well, even if it doesn't show here doing a podcast, and telling my life to everyone. There's a part of me that is very reserved, but I could never envision myself sitting in a group because I was just like, well, I'm not as messed up as them, or, I don't want them to hear it and blah, blah. And I really had to be pushed in it. And honestly, it's one of the best, it is a therapy that helped me because it was a group setting. But I know that a lot of people will be stopped by that, won't even go and register just because it's group. So can you touch on that? Because I know that there is a huge value in doing it in a group. But I also know that the average person is like, not a group.
Oh, and I hear you absolutely, Caroline. And that's the part of where I think the problem is that we've been let down by so many people in our lives. We've had people backstab us and, spread everything that we said to the whole world. And, it's all, Debbie, don't tell Deb. No, I'm sorry, not Deb, but, that Debbie, whatever, like she was the one who always told everybody, right, or whatever. But, the group situations that I run is based on groups that I have been in where there is very definite rules. Whatever's shared stays there. You don't even you cannot introduce somebody that this is where I've met them is in this group. It's like, this is all about being there in that moment. We don't necessarily talk about the rest of our lives. We don't need to be best friends. We are journeying in this moment about this thing, right? And that's what I hold to. And when I have been in groups like that, that's where I've always had the most growth because so often, I think you said, Deb, something about like the blind side that we have, something like we don't always see our blind spots, right? And when we're in a group, oftentimes somebody else will say, well, this is, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I did have a glimmer of that, but I didn't really want to go there. But what your experience is, I can relate to. And it's not absolutely the same, but we can relate and we can grow. And that's the part of where if, again, I had a gal who'd done single therapy for like 10 years and she came to a group and she was like, in 3 months, she goes, I have done more here than I did in 10 years. And I think that that's in the right group. It can make a big difference. sometimes we need to open up to other people. We don't need to be perfect. And that's, that's the part about being authentic. Say, hey, let's do it together. And that's what's good. So all I can say is you have to try it. But yes, I hear what you're saying, Caroline. Be brave. Go for it.
But for the record, it is one of the things that helped me the most as well, because there are concepts that you learn naturally in a group that you cannot go get in an individual therapy. And the fact also, you said it so well, we're so used to being backstab or stuff like that by being in a group and experiencing something successful removes those blocks. And it's something you could not remove if you would be sitting by yourself talking and entertaining the person in front of you. Faith, I love you so much. Like, everything you said is so, honestly, for me, it's amazing. And I will find a new word to replace amazing, because it's getting old and it doesn't justify what I really want to say. But I find it you're so deep, you're so real, you're so authentic. And I will call you for sessions, but I truly believe that you will help a lot of people. And I wish you really only the best. And I encourage people to contact you, because, for me today is a podcast. It's not even a therapy. And I feel like all empowered, because that's what you give. And I've seen you in trainings and in lectures and in conferences before, and you always give that sense of empowerment. And when we leave you, we feel like, okay, I'm going to get this, and I can do this. So thank you.
That's awesome. I mean, there's nothing else I can really say. Caroline took it all there, which is great. And I would normally be sarcastic with her, but it's been such a loving, empowering hour that I think I'm just going to let it be. But I am going to tell people that Faith is generously, it's interesting when you talk about the power of the group. And we've been living for the last 7 or 8 days on a pretty strong elation of just coming up the first group of all of these amazing women, being in the book. And so I think we've had that experience from a business perspective. And the one thing that I love about coming and talking with you and leaving with you is that you do come out feeling different, feeling more connected, and it shows up in success. Like, it shows up, when you're a different person, your relationships get better, even if they didn't change. When I come from speaking with someone like you, my check starts getting bigger, even though nothing else changed except me. And I think that energy that you talked about, that's intangible, that you shift in people, shows up in ways that people have been working really hard on their own to get. And I'm so excited, because we've seen it happen with the first book, this collaboration and this just wave of collectiveness that's shifting all of our lives. And people reading the book, they're going to be able to read your story and pull.
We're having a little frozen moment. So let's, yeah, it seemed like everything froze for a second. So I will close it here for this week, and really thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you so much, Faith Gallatin. You can reach her at Real to the Core.
Technology.
Yes, so I was just saying you can reach Faith at realtothecore.com. Thank you so much. I'm sorry, ladies, we had a glitch. But it's still going, and let's just close it here for now, and we'll see you all next week. Thank you, Faith Gallatin.
Thank you.